As far as the 6-day split, even for advanced trainees, this may be a little bit too much frequency, too much of training, to train 6 days per week, right? And one way you can get around this, though, is to split it up so that you have one of your push days and one of your leg days and one of your pull days focused on hypertrophy. So perhaps your first cycle is a hypertrophy focus, and then your second cycle through is more of a strength powerlifting style focus, right? What's up, guys? Aaron Kubitz, personal trainer, functional aesthetics EC, helping average guys shed fat, build muscle, and perform better in their lives inside and outside the gym. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving and had a little bit of time to relax and spend time with family. I know a lot of times holiday season can be a time of higher stress because you are running from one gathering to the next, but it can also, if you do it the right way, be a great way to relax and enjoy your time with people that you don't necessarily get to see on a regular basis. Another thing is that it's often a time when people will gain weight because of more time to sit around and indulge in a lot of very delicious food, but it doesn't need to be that way. In fact, if you just eat like you normally would, enjoy those things that you don't normally get to have in moderation, it can keep you right on track. And in fact, a couple days out of the year, as long as you go back to doing what you were doing before the holidays kicked in, that extra, if you do end up getting a little extra calories and stuff like that in, it can actually help to boost your performance in the gym, and then it will even out over time. But today's video is not going to be about helping you to prevent holiday weight gain. No, today's video I'm going to be talking about the second segment in this series on popular strength programs. So for the past 20 years or so, we've been in, probably more than that, but at least the past 20 years, been in this information age, right? And so information is commoditized. There's an abundance of information on any topic, and strength and conditioning training, fitness training is no exception. With that being said, more information is not always a good thing. That means there's more information you have to sift through, and you have to decide which one is worth following, which one do I throw out. So you have to look at a lot of information, sort through a lot of information, and then come up with which one should I do. So as I said before in the other video, most of the strength training programs that have been around for a while are indeed effective. But all exercise is good for something, but not all exercise is good for everything. And so the purpose of this series, as I stated the last time when I did a summary or an analysis of the full body training split, is to take all that information, condense it down for you to make that process a little bit easier so that you can come to a conclusion more quickly as to which style of training is going to be best for you and your particular goals, not only for your goals, but also the time constraints that you have and the amount of equipment, facilities, that kind of stuff that you have to deal with, which are all going to play a factor into which training program is going to be best for you. So today we're going to be hopping into the ever popular push-pull legs, or as I like to call it, pull-push legs workout program. Alright, so before we get started here, just do a little recap from last week's video on the full benefits of full body workouts, as well as some cons to full body workouts. So the primary, first and foremost, full body workouts is especially good for absolute beginners. It's also good for athletes, particularly just because it helps you develop full body coordination, helps you to ingrain movement patterns that are more applicable to life and sports, as opposed to isolation exercises, which are mainly applicable to just purely building up muscle size. So it's also beneficial for people who don't have a lot of time to train, but they want to train in a very balanced way and make sure that they're addressing all of their muscle groups every week. It's also beneficial for people who have had an injury and then they're coming back and they're trying to get back in shape again. And so And the other benefit of full body workout routines is that they don't allow, this is also one of the cons of full body routines depending on where you are, right? So for a beginner, it's a plus, right? For a intermediate to advanced lifter, it might be a con, and that is that due to the fact that you're training your entire body in one workout, it's going to use a lot of energy, and so you're not going to be able to do as much volume because the more sets and reps that you are adding in there, your intensity is going to go down because you're going to get fatigued because you're training your entire body. You know, you're doing your squats, your deadlifts, your pull-ups, your push-ups, your bench presses, all this stuff you're doing in one workout. And so while it's great for building overall conditioning, helping to build muscular endurance, one of the other benefits is helping to allow time for the tendons and ligaments to get stronger before you start adding more load. And so that's some of the benefits of this. The downside is that once you get to an intermediate or advanced level of lifting, there's just, you require more volume and perhaps frequency of training to be able to continue stimulating muscular strength and muscular growth. And training your entire body in every workout, it just becomes too time consuming, number one, and then also the energy factor, right? And then because of the energy, you're not going to be able to apply as much intensity to each and every set, which is going to affect overall volume, which is a key driver of muscular growth, and then also your strength as well. And so that is one reason why perhaps full body strength training is not the best approach for more advanced trainees whose primary goal is to maximize their strength and also muscle growth potential. And that's where body part split training, such as push-pull legs, comes in. Now, push-pull legs is a little bit different than than a bro split style of training, which I'm going to get into in a future video. One of the benefits of push-pull training is that rather than focusing on specific body parts, it's focusing on movement patterns. You got push. A day where you're focusing on pushing patterns, a day where you're focusing on pulling patterns, and then you have legs, right? And so in actuality, depending on how you train your pulling and your pushing movements, you are also getting legs hit a couple of times a week as well, which can be beneficial, as I'll talk about a little bit later on in this video. So intermediate to advanced trainees often opt for a body part split training or a bro split training, which I said I would be talking about in a future video. One of the reasons that I like the push-pull legs as opposed to a bro split, though, is simply that it's more geared towards athleticism as well as strength and hypertrophy. The other thing is that you are able to perhaps sustain a higher level of total volume and intensity if you are doing a 6-day push-pull legs scenario, right? Because you are it allows you to train each muscle group twice per week, which is the optimal amount of frequency. It takes you about 48 to 72 hours for the muscles to recover in between workouts, depending on the amount of intensity you're applying. So if you are a more advanced lifter and you are lifting a lot of weight, perhaps it might take you 72 hours to recover from a very intense training session. If you're a more intermediate or beginner, maybe it's closer to that 48-hour window. Now, muscle protein synthesis takes about 24 to 48 hours to there's a spike in muscle protein synthesis that lasts 24 to 48 hours in between workouts, right? So after you do a workout, that your body is going to have an increase in building new muscle for 24 to 48 hours after that. And you can optimize this by making sure that you're getting adequate rest, getting enough sleep, reducing your stress levels, and of course, getting enough nutrients, particularly protein, to help repair and capitalize on that increased muscle protein synthesis. Now, if you're doing a body part split where you're just taking one or two muscle groups and you're doing a lot of volume for them, but you're only training them once per week, it's perhaps not as ideal because you're only getting that spike, and then it levels off, goes back down to baseline, and then doesn't get spiked again until the next week. Whereas when you're doing the push-pull leg thing, you're maybe not doing as much volume in that one workout, but you are able to sustain a higher level of intensity for a greater amount of volume, right, than you would in a full body workout routine. And then you're going to be recovered again and be able to train it again before that muscle protein synthesis goes completely back down to baseline. So it's going down and you spike it again. And so between both of these workouts, if you train 2 workouts, you're going to be able to sustain a higher level of intensity and also be able to do more total sets and reps with that higher level intensity, equating to a total higher level of volume than trying to put all of that into just one workout. And that's why, again, I think that for an advanced training, perhaps push-pull legs is a little bit better of an option, unless your goal is specifically bodybuilding, and we're going to get a little bit more into that when I do cover bro splits in another video. But the other benefit that I like with push-pull legs is that, again, it is based around movement patterns. And so you have one primary lift that you're focusing on in the workout. So for example, on your pull day, you'd be doing a deadlift, right, as your main movement. And because you just have one main movement, perhaps you can devote more time and energy to that one main movement before you get on into your other stuff. Whereas if you're doing a full body workout, you got to do the deadlift, and then you have to leave enough energy to go do the squat, and then you have to leave enough energy to go do the bench press, and then you have to leave enough energy to go do the overhead press, and then you're then training, your rowing and your pull-ups and all that kind of stuff all in one workout. So when you don't have to worry about that, you can allow a lot more time and energy to hit that with greater volume. And then because if you are an advanced trainee and you're training it again later on in the week, then you get even more volume because of that greater frequency as well, and so that's why I like that. And then if you're doing your squat, your push day, maybe you started off with the squats before you're going into your other pushing exercises. And then the other benefit of the push-pull legs, as I had talked about at the beginning of the video, is having to do with greater training of frequency for your legs. I mean, you walk around in your legs all the time, so they have a high endurance capacity, meaning that they are designed to handle a lot of volume. And so being able to train your legs more frequently, as is allowed in a push-pull legs thing, so they only say legs once a week in that format, right? Granted, if you are doing the other one, the 6-day format, then it would be twice a week. But even in the 3-day format, think about it. If you're doing deadlifts on your pull day, that's still a moderate amount of training for the quads, and it's a lot of training for your hamstrings, your glutes as well. So you're still training your legs twice a week, regardless if you're doing a 3-day or a 6-day split, which can help to increase development of your legs. And that's another thing that I like about the push-pull legs scenario. So another benefit of push-pull legs is flexibility, right? While I do prefer full body workouts for absolute beginners, push-pull legs can be incorporated for beginners, although I do prefer full body simply because you can get more total training volume, and you're also training the whole entire body to build up that muscular endurance and total athleticism, which I think is more important for general health and as a beginner. And then as you have already built that, then you can start splitting things up. Now, the downside, and so then you can also have a 6-day per week protocol for advanced trainees, right, who need more frequency, more total volume in their workouts, right? Now, the downside, though, is that the 3-day per week may not be, even for intermediate to beginner lifters, might not be enough frequency, or not enough frequency, but not enough volume, right? Because you're doing pushing, and you're doing your pushing stuff and then you're only stimulating that once a week before you come back around. Now, if you're doing a full body workout, you'd be stimulating pushing and pulling twice a week, as well as your legs would be stimulated twice a week. So if you're doing push-pull legs and you're only doing the 3-day split, you kind of run into that same problem you do with a bro split, where you're doing a little bit more volume for pushing than perhaps you could get into one full body workout, but not as much volume as you could get into 2 full body workouts. And so that's one of the downsides there. As far as the 6-day split, even for advanced trainees, this may be a little bit too much frequency, too much of training, to train 6 days per week, right? And one way you can get around this, though, is to split it up so that you have one of your push days and one of your leg days and one of your pull days focused on hypertrophy. So perhaps your first cycle is a hypertrophy focus, and then your second cycle through is more of a strength powerlifting style focus, right? And so you're going pushing with that moderate reps, moderate level of intensity, and then more bodybuilding style training, right? And then in the second time you hit it, you're hitting it with lower volume but higher intensity, so heavier weights, lower reps, and lower reps, right? And so that can be one way so that you can increase that frequency and get more training stimulus, but you're not doing the same kind of stimulus, because you don't want to necessarily do an all-out bodybuilding workout 2 times a week for that same muscle group unless you're a very, very advanced trainee and you have the optimal scenarios of proper nutrition, proper rest, and you have a very low stress lifestyle, right? And so that's one of the factors you want to consider for that as well. So after about a year of consistent training, you may find that you need a little bit more volume, right? So you may opt for going to 4 to 6 days a week of training, right? So maybe you're going more towards that push-pull legs 6-day per week split, perhaps, right? But there's also going to be a variety of things that come into that decision. So you only need about 2 to 3 full body workouts per week for general health and fitness, right? Once you achieve that, it's your choice if you want to continue going for more performance and aesthetics related benefits of training. And so you have to consider, do I want to devote that amount of time to my training? What does my stress look like, right, in my life? And so 𝐏𝐮𝐬𝐡 was the guy who came up with this principle of general adaptation syndrome, or the GAS principle, right? Which says that all stress in our lives, including, training stress, work stress, family stress, environmental stress, toxins in our food, and all these different things are cumulative and add to our overall stress bucket. And so that's something you also need to consider when you are considering increasing the frequency and the volume of your training, because as I said before, you're only good as the amount that you can recover from. And so doing more training isn't going to be good if the other factors in your life don't allow you to recover appropriately from that. And so perhaps that's why Olympian and 1979 American record holder in the marathon, Bill Rogers, was quoted as saying, "No man who works a 40-hour week will ever beat me." Doing more training, being a professional athlete, they can do things because that is what they do for a living, right? And so their life revolves around peaking their performance and being able to recover from that. And so it's not to say that, like any guy, should be able to train consistently and maintain a healthy weight, have above average strength, and maintain their general health and fitness, right? Only takes 2 hours a week of strength training to do that, okay? And you don't have to do it all in the same day. You can split that up over the course of the week, do 20 to 30 minutes, which is something that I do inside of my hybrid strength program. Now, my hybrid strength program actually involves 4 different strength training styles. So we're not just training on a bodybuilding or powerlifting style of training, which is primarily what I've been talking about so far. But 20 to 30 minutes of strength training per day, do a little bit of walking, do a little bit of stretching, and that's going to be plenty to help keep you in healthy and fit for the rest of your life. And everybody has the time to do that. Whether or not you structure your life in a way that makes it possible for you to do that is another thing entirely, and often has to do with your priorities and how you choose to spend your time. But whether or not you have the ability to do that is another thing, and every guy has that ability, unless of course you're working a job that you probably should quit because it's literally killing you. Like some guys will say, well, I'm working 80 to 100 hours a week. Well, how many weeks out of the year are you working 80 to 100 hours a week? And I can guarantee you it's not every single week of the year. And if you are, regardless of whether or not you're doing fitness training or not, that job is going to kill you in short order if you are in fact working that amount of hours. So hopefully you got some value out of this video. This is not the complete analysis of push-pull legs. I'm going to be completing that in perhaps the next 2 to 3 videos, or perhaps the next 1 to 2 videos, I should say. So 3 videos total, 2 to 3 videos total. And next time I'm going to be talking about why I believe pull-push legs is better than push-pull legs. I'm going to be explaining some of the reasons for that in next week's video. So if you liked the video, if you got some value out of it, it would greatly help this channel if you go ahead and hit the like button. If you'd like to hear more information about workout design for building muscle, improving athletic performance, increasing your strength, as well as nutrition information for shedding fat, improving performance, building muscle, and then information surrounding how to avoid injuries and how to work around those injuries should you sustain them in the course of your fitness and lifting journey, then consider subscribing to the channel by hitting the button in the lower right hand corner of the screen. And we'll see you all next time for more health and fitness information.